Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Cosmic Ascension Waves of Light with myself, Soma ARah, and Michael Kopf this evening. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
You
Today's date,
did.
oh, good, good, good. Today's date is the 16th of October, 2025, and it is 9:12 p.m. here in Ireland. These are the cosmic ascension waves of light, or the call, which will have meaning to some people. Um, so there's a couple of updates I wanted to share with everyone. I um, have been having a lot of astral travel when I sleep these days. My beautiful partner bought me a grounding sheet last weekend. And since then, I've been having a lot, every time I sleep, I've been having a lot of astral travel, which is normal for me, but it's not so normal to have it every night. I haven't done that since I was a child. And this afternoon, I had a lay down, I had a power nap, and I had a message about South Africa. And I'll just remind everyone of today's date is the 16th of October, 2025, and it is 9:13 p.m. here now in Ireland. And the message I had was about South Africa. It was a premonition, and I felt that I was being shown um, something to do. I think it's probably to do with the weather or an event to do with the earth or the land or some prediction of a chaotic, disastrous event to come in South Africa. I wasn't shown when, but my feeling is it will be within the next 3 to 4 months from now, October the 16th. Um, so keep your eyes open for news of South Africa. I do feel it's to do with the land, but it also could be to do with the weather affecting the land, or an event like an earthquake or um, um, a mountain erupting or something, but something that would affect the land. So please keep your eyes peeled for that. Two really great interviews I watched today. One with Roseanne Barr, who is being interviewed by Lara Logan, Gone Rogue. Really one of the best interviews I've seen in a long time. She talks about everything and she barely pauses, and she covers a lot of stuff, a lot of information. And the other one I watched this evening was Greg Braden talking about disclosure movement, which I think you might find interesting, Michael, as well. So those are the updates I have for you. I will be sharing those videos hopefully over the next couple of days in my Substack. But Michael Kopf. So I met Michael at the Full Disclosure Now conference in July, and we kind of just met in passing. We didn't really um, speak very much at the conference, um, but I love his energy, and I really love his energy, and he has a beautiful soul, beautiful soul. So I wanted to connect with him and get to ask him questions. And so here we are. So Michael, please introduce yourself.
Sure. And I also want to say though, Soma, you have beautiful energy as well. So it's the same to you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you.
So my name is Michael Kopf, and I'm a metaphysical paranormal investigator, speaker, truth seeker, podcast host, and recent author. And so I've grown up in the metaphysics and what that's led to is a lot of experiences. I'll look, it's like I can step back and say, okay, what's the bigger picture here? It's like I don't get emotionally attached right away to events. Sometimes it does happen, but for the most part, I'm able to stay detached. And I see life through different filters than most people. And so it gets me into some interesting scenarios because I tend to look through the lens of galactic versus earthly. And so some events that have happened recently, it's like I'm looking at it going, this is nothing. And everyone's looking at me like, are you kidding me? So
What
that's the
about
kind of
your,
troubles I get into is I have a hard time relating to people sometimes because my lens is so much wider and bigger than most people.
let's start with what is your thoughts on the three eye atlas?
My thoughts is it's going to be passing by us, and I don't think it means any harm or anything. And even if it did, I feel like there's enough protection around the planet that they would not allow it to. Like, I've heard stories of people are like, oh, there's going to be, beings coming off of it and they're going to invade. And I was like, not going to happen. They're not going to let a bunch of rogue dark forces come down onto the planet and invade because we've just got done gathering and removing dark elements. So I don't see them going, okay, let's let another group come in. So that I don't believe will happen. Will it spy on us? Most likely. I'm sure everything out there is keeping an eye on us to make sure we don't take what we do here out there because my personal opinion is they're all in a harmonic state and a different resonance than we are. And so releasing us out into the world right now would be introducing chaos into the universes. And I feel like they've already done their time with it. And they're like, nope, we don't need to go down that path again. You guys, you grow up some more and then you can join us.
And who would you say is piloting or owns or is in charge of the three eye atlas? I have very little info on it that I've got from the Pleiadians. I do plan to sit down and channel about that, about the three eye atlas, but for right now, I have very little info, and I don't trust anything that I see on the internet about it. So, but what is your opinion? Like, who is, I've heard different stories. I've heard that it's a Lyran ship. I've heard positive and negative. So I'm on the fence.
I take the opinion as it's going to be passing as close as they say it is, if it does maintain its path. I would say it would have to be one of the councils that's watching over us and keeping us protected. And I also feel like this is like our big chance to show how much we've grown. Like, are we going to go into the world of fear over this object passing by us and show the everybody in the galaxy, yeah, we're still ruled by fear. We're still a fearful people. Or are we going to watch it go by and be like, hey, welcome, if you want to come and visit us, we welcome you. Or are we going to be indifferent? And I feel like, in my opinion, the two factions we need to be running the show would be the indifferent or the positive welcome. We're grateful for your checking on us, and we welcome you when you're ready because we're in a world time where we're awakening ourselves on another level, and we're embracing now our galactic selves. And so I think it's time we show everybody out there that we are awakening, we are growing. We're not the same people that, like Stone Age. If they came in the Stone Age, that if they came, we're not going to throw rocks and sticks at them anymore. We're going to be like, hey, so glad you're here. We offer this to you to help you grow, and we welcome your technology and awareness to help us grow. And so we'll be on an equal exchange.
I think people need to be more scared of the governments and what they're doing than any alien race that's on the way. um, I think it's fascinating that we've gone from a few years ago, people laughing at us because of our um, belief system of UFOs and alien races, and some of us do, and I include myself in this, really believe to my core that the governments are um, part of an alien species. Sorry, I have a fly that's um, keeps dive bombing me. Um, we've gone from, we're in an incredible times, amazing times. We've gone from being laughed at because we believe in aliens. And David Icke was one of the first people I know of that I remember who was saying that the royal families and the governments are part of an alien race. So we've gone from being laughed at, and that's kind of an extreme belief, and I do believe that now, but I didn't used to. But we've gone from being laughed at to now the science is and mainstream media is reporting that there is a very large ship called AI Atlas on the way to Earth or very close by. So things have really changed in our lifetimes. We're in such an important time period. So it's such an amazing time to be on Earth and be part of this disclosure movement. So I wanted to ask some questions. I wanted to ask you some questions, Michael, because I'm excited to be here. I really want to know more about you and who you are today in the world and how you show up and some of your childhood. Um, like what influenced you as a child? Was there events or situations that happened that are part of who you are today and your beliefs to do with all the esoteric stuff and the like, did you have spiritual experiences? Where did you grow up? What was your childhood like?
Wow, that's a lot of questions in one question. And so, what influenced me? I'll start with that growing up. And amazingly, it was stories of like King Arthur, Robin Hood, and let's see, some Shakespeare. Yeah, I read Shakespeare as a kid
Wow.
and may not have fully understood what I was reading, but I found it interesting. But mainly I was focused on King Arthur, chivalry, what it meant to be knight, what you should stand for, what you should do in your daily lives, how your deeds should match your words, match your actions. And so you're in total harmony. And I thought this is the right way to live. And then a few years later, my sister introduced me to Battlestar Galactica, and then I got introduced to Star Wars, and I was like, hey, the Jedi way. I like that. And I resonate with that. I can do that path and live that way. And so that's what I started modeling after. And like what I got from Robin Hood was, not the let's steal from the rich, and kill people along the way, that were trying to kill me. No, what I got out of it was if I had the means, I would give it up to help people.
Mm.
And that was the right thing to do, to stand up for what was right, not caring if it meant title was at risk or money was at risk or your life was at risk. I was like, if it's the right thing to do, it's the right thing to do. That's what I, will stand for. And so that's kind of what I've done throughout my life is whenever I see someone getting picked on, if I feel like I can help, I'll intervene. And if I feel like I could help, but, and this is going to sound strange, but I would do harm by interfering, I move on and just walk on. I don't get involved. And so I watch the energy and I read the energies around both sides and and I know a lot of people think because you're seeing a small guy being picked on by a big guy that you automatically should help the small guy, but if you read the energies, you may find out that that small guy was actually in the wrong and the big guy is the one that's actually being hurt by the situation. And so that's why I say, I step back and I read the energies to see, what is going on because I'm not, there for the whole thing. So it's like, oh, got to be careful what you get involved in because you could end up helping the wrong person and then you're in the wrong and you're like, oh, now I got all this karma that I shouldn't have taken on because I
Yep.
didn't read the situation right.
Yep. And so, what did you have a good childhood? Did you grow up in America? Did
So I grew up for 6 years in northern US and in the Midwest area. And then after six, I pretty much have lived in Texas since then. So I've kind of gotten that Texas. I'll say I'm Texan over American, but I've always lived in America, but I have visited other countries. And so I I would say, you know, in fairness, my childhood was not like all roses and serenity. There were tribulations along the way, but as much as I would love to say, if I could go back in time, I would make it all roses. I've come to the awareness of if I went back and made it all roses, I would not be who I am today. You need the tribulations to forge you into who you are.
Yeah.
And if you like who you are, stop trying to change the past.
Yeah. Because the past, whatever it was for us, it's all individual, but whatever it was, is what exactly what we needed. Exactly what we needed. And it has helped to grow and shape us. Um, and so did you ever see UFOs or anything like to do with aliens? Did you ever see craft as a child?
Not that I can remember. I mean, I'm sure I must have because seeing them as an adult, it's like I had no fear of them. It's like I've already recognized them and was like, yeah, that's a UFO. Like, it's no big deal.
No.
So I must have seen them at some point as a child, but just didn't have the awareness of what I was looking at. And so my mind just either filed it away or was like, oh, it's a plane, and just smoothed it over and was like, okay, we'll just call it that. And we'll just keep you unaware until you're ready to be aware.
And so kind of moving forward in your life now, how did you get into this stuff? How long ago was it? When did you start kind of waking up to being able to accept more information? And have you had
Well,
any profound experiences with craft? I know you've seen craft, and I was very guided to ask that question about if you saw craft as a child, because I'm pretty sure you did.
I'm sure I did as well. And my memory is kind of a funny one is if we were to start talking about a craft, my mind would unlock and be like, yeah, I've seen this, this, and this. But on my own, it's like, no, I can't access that information. It's like I view it as I need a key to unlock it and then it gets locked back up. And it's like, so my memories seem to come as needed and then they get locked away. But as far as experiences and how long have I been aware of there being more, I would say since I was, well, I'm 47 now, so I would say my preteens, like 12, 10, around then is when I started realizing that things were not always as they seemed, but I didn't really get into it until my teenage, early 20s is when I started, and then 30s, I started investigating more, and then so I've always really been around it and aware of it, but I didn't really pursue it until my 30s and 40s.
And so when like so what who is Michael now? I know you've before we started you were mentioning the SSP um programs. So like what are your experiences to date? Like what like good and bad? Like what is it that you're interested and into? Are you what is it you do? Like because there's so many within the spiritual fields, there's so many, there's everything from auras to Zen. So
Yeah, it's interesting you asked me that because I recently teamed up and collaborate with Trish Kane, who is the CEO of Healerverse 5D. And it's an organization where she saw where people who do healing modalities and other type of modalities to help people get shadow banned or get, their stuff is really hard to get out there because we have so many restrictions. So she created a platform where everybody could freely share and it's not as monitored as mainstream. And so we were talking about this, her and I, is because she wanted to call me healer because I have a Reiki master level, but I'm not actively practicing. So I didn't feel right calling myself healer. And I was talking with my mom too, and my mom's like, well, what about way shower? And then I said to Trish, I was like, yeah, what about way shower? So it became a category on her side of being, you can be healer, you can be way shower, or, different things. And so I feel like, yeah, that best describes who I am is the way shower because I give space to everyone, whether it's in the paranormal field, on my paranormal podcast, or on my esoteric disclosure podcast, people who have a hard time sharing because of the nature of what they talk about. I give them the same free space to communicate their experiences in a safe environment. And so it's like, yeah, by doing that, it's like I'm showing people different ways to view what's going on and different options. And one of the goals that I have is, for example, we have grown up to where we see the commercials on TV for all the meds and all the doctors, saying we need to do this, this, and this, and these drugs, you got to take this, and when this drug does this, you get side effect, you got to take another drug, and so it's like a never-ending cycle. And I always felt like there's got to be a better way. And so as I'm meeting people who do healing modalities, I'm like, I bring them on my shows to focus on that and showcase it so that people who may be struggling with meds to keep their health up because they're reacting to everything, going and saying, maybe this is the wrong path for me. Maybe I need to do this path like this person talked about. And so it's like I'm giving them options and showing them there are other means out there to heal things in the body or to heal certain sicknesses, that there's not one way and that's the only way. And so do I ever tell people to stop what they're doing? No. I'm not medical, so I don't prescribe anything. I just am giving you the option to look, do your own homework, see if it fits for you. And if it does, great. If not, then you had the choice to go and see what does. And so that's where I describe myself as being the way shower. I just show people different options in a safe way.
That's more important than anything these days. Health has become such a big issue for everyone since 2019, 2020. And it's sovereignty is very important for me, and and for me and for a lot of people, what's really important is that we get to choose what we put into our bodies or don't put into our bodies, whether it's a piece of chocolate cake or which I love, or anything. It's my body. It's my body. It's my body, and I get to choose. You know,
Right. And
um,
the one thing I think we forget is we're all unique individuals. No one person is the same as another person. And so it always kind of drew my attention when you would go, like as a kid, when you were sick, and the doctor would say, oh, you have this. This medicine is what everybody takes for this, and you'll get over it in this amount of time. And I was like, how do you know? you're basing everything you just said on somebody else. That's not me. And so that's why I think people, when they take medicines for like a cold, they end up getting worse. Well, because you're taking a medicine that worked for person A, your person B, it's not working for you. So now they throw a different medicine at you that works for person C in the hopes that it'll work for you. And they're like, you become a lab rat, so to speak. And I think that's where my awareness with, wanting to bring out the options is because when you look and you talk with doctors, everything is, well, this is what they tell us will work for this because this is what the test results have had the best results and everything from the studies. And we don't know who's in the studies. We don't know, you know, was the study like 60 people and 40 people were okay? What happened to those 20 people that weren't okay? We don't ever hear about them. And so that's where I was like, yeah, we need to revamp the medical system because they don't look at people as individuals. They look at them as you have this, so you have to fit into this category and this category. And it's like, no, I'm not a category. I'm a self.
Yeah. And absolutely, Michael. And a lot of the studies are rigged. A lot of them. We don't get the full truth about a lot of the studies. Information, important information regarding our health gets eliminated or taken out from the studies. You're right, we don't know who these people are, what their backgrounds, what their conditions are, what their blood types are, what their like who are they, what their
And
DNA is.
yeah, and we talk of, we like you and I, we talk to people about how the wool's been pulled over our eyes and we blindly are believing things as a people. And everyone's like, no, we're not. And I look at drug commercials, and there was one that stuck in my head that was, I forget what the drug was for, what it was called, but it was a migraine headache drug. And it says, oh, yeah, this is totally going to help you with, getting rid of your headache. And the first side effect of it was death. And I was like, and I sat there and I heard that, and I was like, well, yeah, death will definitely cure that, migraine headache. I'll never have another one again for sure. And I'm like, and you see people, you watch at the doctors, going, I want this medicine. And I'm like, why would we ever voluntarily walk up to someone and say, I want a drug that can possibly kill me to get rid of this?
Mm.
It's like, there's no, but yet we blindly accept it because we're like, oh, that's a side effect that may happen to someone, but it won't be me. And it's like, really?
Yeah.
You're gonna take that chance?
Yeah. People have, I remember in my granny's day, people put so much reverence onto doctors and priests at the time in my granny's generation. And I think that we're coming away from that now. We've seen some of the things that priests do. We've seen some of the things that doctors do. And so we're coming away from that in kind of a huge leap in our lifetime. Um, my mum's lifetime, what generation would have been kind of the same as my granny, or an in between now and my granny's generation. My mum's was kind of had a foot in both kind of generational thinking or belief system. And I think my mum was coming away a lot from the Catholic Church. I know that she would have had a very difficult time because she was going through a divorce, and that was very she wasn't supposed to get divorced as a Catholic, but she did. So she went against the grain because it was a very bad marriage.
Right.
And bless her, she had a very difficult life. But she would have been a great believer, my mum, in doctors. Maybe not so much the Catholic Church and the priest, but we are coming away from that now. And I've seen recently that Trump has been making announcements about the med beds in America. And
Right.
you're in America, so what is your what have you heard?
Well, before I answer that, I want to make one observation about the doctors to clarify. I'm not sitting there blasting every doctor saying they're doing this the wrong way. There are some doctors who still practice medical, but a lot of the doctors are owned now by the insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies. So they no longer practice medicine, they practice what they're told to practice and to push drugs that they're told to push. So you got to be careful when you go to the doctors who, is backing that doctor. So I just wanted to make clear that, I'm not saying all doctors are bad. There are good ones out there. You just got to find them. And to answer your question, I actually forgot what the question was. I got my
It was
brain focused on the tangent.
okay. So it was about Trump making an
Oh,
announcement.
right, the med
Yeah,
beds.
med beds.
So I think people have a misnomer of thinking, okay, I'm going to go lay down on this bed. It's going to fix everything about me. And every time I need something done, I'll just lay on the bed and everything will be fine. That's not how it actually works. In my opinion, and from what I've heard, is you have to make spiritual changes in your awareness. You have to open yourself up to new ways of thinking of if you laid down and say you had your arm amputated because of something that happened as a child where the doctors were like it's beyond repair, we got to remove it or the whole arm will be lost. Well, if you go and lay on a med bed and you have the belief that this will regenerate my arm, the arm will regenerate. But if you lay on the med bed and you're like, well, they tell me it's going to regenerate my arm, I don't necessarily believe it will. It won't, because you're not in resonance with the healing that's coming. So it'll fix what you are in your awareness and your intuition and your body mind balance. That's what it'll give you. And so that's where you see like everybody's going into the new medical modalities and working on their shadow sides and working on issues and with raising their awareness is it's naturally coming because the technology needs that. And so those that aren't doing it won't see as much benefit. I'm sure they will see benefit, but it's not going to be the same. And it's not a, some people talk about, oh, once you're on the med bed, it'll de-age you, say 30 years to where you're 30 and you get to live again and start over. No, it's going to de-age you maybe to age 30, but you got to change your lifestyle, your thinking to maintain it. And you may have to go back every once in a while to do like a tune-up because we are, as much as people hate to hear it, we are machines, so to speak. We have brains like a computer, CPU. We have blood that's like the oil of a car or a lubricant. And the bone structure, everything is working in perfect unison and needs to be maintained. So it's not a one and done, hey, gray, hollow, and now I can live another 100 years.
Yeah.
No, there is some work that goes along with it.
And so tell me about your books, Michael. What you've recently written two books, I think.
I have. So the first book I wrote, and my illustrator came up with the title, so I had to give kudos to Selena Ingles for not only the cover but for the title as well, and it's Awakening My Journey into the Paranormal. And this book
You just hold that up
covers
again, Michael. So the bottom part by Michael Kopf, Awakening My Journey into the Paranormal by Michael Kopf, Kopf.
F. And this book is my journey into what paranormal experiences I had, when I had them, what impact did they have on me, what experience did I experience. And so
So all my questions are in your book.
well, some of them and some of them may not be in the book yet. They may be still coming, but what I decided to do with this book was to share where I've been and what happened there. Like, for example, at one location, I had a shirt plucked from behind and nobody around me. And so it's like, I can't explain that.
Yeah.
And so that, makes me wonder, who really was behind me because there's no physical person was around me. What did happen? And was it this timeline? Was it this universe, parallel universe? Where did that entity come from or being? And then I talk about another location where I'm like, yeah, I saw an apparition run by. And this is what my thoughts were at the time. And this is what happens after I shared this experience with who I shared it with. And so I give some background to what it did and how it shaped me going into the future. And I also, since I have two paranormal podcasts that I'm a part of, one that's my show and one that I co host with a friend, I put the origin stories of those in there because I felt like they're paranormal related. They're part of my paranormal journey. So I'm going to include them in here. And I didn't want to use illustrations in this book because for two reasons. One was if I put a photo of a location, they're so generic. I could have got them from anywhere. So to prove it's mine and not have someone saying I stole their picture was going to be a headache and wanted to avoid that. And the second reason was I wrote it in such a way that I felt like my words were painting the picture and I didn't need a picture to show what I was talking about. The paragraph itself paints such a great picture that I was like, yeah, let's go with that. And let's let the writing and experiences speak for themselves. And I know a lot of people right now are talking about AI, and using AI to help with books and everything. And I felt like my experiences were enough on their own, so I didn't use AI for any of my experiences or anywhere in the book. And the other reason was, for example, if you were to have read the book and asked me a question about my experience, I can communicate back with you and say right away, oh, yes, that was this, and this is what happened, and this is what it did for me. But if it's AI, I'm going to be like going, what are we talking about? What? And so I didn't want to be in an interview and be like, I don't know what we're talking about. That wasn't my words, and look foolish. So I was like, no, I'm not using AI just for that reason, is I wanted to be able to explain right away what's what and share. And then I started on my second book and got it published, and that is Awakenings, My Journey into Hidden Discovery. And this book is it's thinner actually than the other book because it's a 3-year journey of how I found out I was in like the secret space program, what
Tell us about that,
memories.
Michael.
So I found out I was in the secret space program. be
When?
I I started so how it started for me was the first Galactic Informers um, talk. I went to the first one in Florida, and I was listening to Tony Rodriguez, and
Mm, love him.
he's sharing his story, and I was like, that seems like what happened to me. And I was like,
Yeah.
it just started resonating with me, and I was like, I feel like almost like I'm akin to this story. Like this could be my story, but I don't remember it. And I was driving back, and Alex Collier and I were driving back to my house because it was on the way
Alex, I love Alex.
to. Yeah.
I've been meaning to message him. Anyway, go on. Sorry, Michael.
Well, we were talking in the car on the way back to my house because it's on the way to his house. And I looked at him and I said, listening to Tony, I think I went through the programs myself. And he looked and I said, and goes, I think you have too. And so and it started me thinking, did I? And having these memories of going to places on the astral plane and being like, are these programs or are these really my experiences personally? And so I would start to think about that. And then in June, my father ended up passing away in 2023. And we always were talking about the esoterics, and we were always talking about, how there's the real truth out there, but it's not what we're being shown. And so I decided, because my dad was so supportive of my works with podcasting, I was like, maybe I should create a series in his honor. And so I started writing through the unknown. And I actually, so the funny story about that is he passes away in June. July, I start reaching out to a few people that I have met or was aware of in the esoteric fields and disclosure movement, and mentioned that I'm looking at starting a podcast. And so they were like, yeah, we'd love to come on. And I was like, okay. So August, I launch Writing Through the Unknown of 2023. So this is like 3 months prep. And I'm like, I'm only gonna do two a month. So I was like, I'll do 10 episodes, see if I can cut it and if people will actually gravitate behind this series. And when August rolled around, I had 3 guests. And I'm like stressing a little bit because I'm like, I'm putting my reputation on the line, I'm putting my name on the line. And is this going to bomb? And, this is a community to where you either are or you're not. There's very little in room in between. And so I was like, fingers crossed, and was like, okay, I can do this. I, must be able to. And I could feel my dad kind of helping me through and like working through some of it. And so by the end of 2023, I ended up with 11 episodes. I was able to fill all the episodes, and I was like, oh, take a breath. Okay, we did it. And then I was like, so the next year, I decide, host prerogative, I'm going to make it season 2. So I tried 3 episodes a month. And it was just becoming so popular and having so many that it was like this season, I was like, okay, we're doing it weekly, just like my other show. And I'm amazed at how the people I'm getting on and what they're sharing and what resonates with me. And my second guest was Arkeem Ra. And I was like, some of his story was similar to what I was remembering. And I decided at this point, I'm going to put myself on the line and see if what I'm thinking is real or not real. And I mentioned to him as a child, I grew, or not grew, but I drew a picture of a base in a mountain that had no doors. And he just kind
Wow.
of looked at me and he goes, well, the only way you would know that that base existed is you had to be there. And
Yeah.
so that's why you're able to draw it because you were there.
Yeah.
And they don't use doors, they use portals. And so, unfortunately, I lost those drawings growing up. But I remember how I drew them and I remembered what they looked like. So, in the book, there is an illustration of, and it was really hard for me to draw this because I have drawing skill now, but when I originally drew it, I didn't really have drawing skill. So it's like I had to take my mind back to, okay, elementary age. Let's draw this base. And so I created an illustration of it, and I say on the bottom of it, I was like, this is a recreation of the illustration I made as a kid. So it's like I clearly say it's not the original drawing, but it is my drawing.
Yeah.
And I started getting a lot of people telling me, like, oh, yeah, that's, experience you're talking about, that's program related. And so that's how I got awareness of being in the programs. And my memories haven't unlocked to where I can definitely say, oh, I was this project or that project. But I've had a few memories of my own come through, and I share in the book some that I got through readings. I tried to limit what I got through readings in the book because I only wanted to share what's truly my experience and my awareness. And so you'll see when I get to those, I say, oh, and in this reading, I'm sharing this because it resonated so strongly with me. This is what happened. And this is what came through. And so because it resonated, I'm sharing this with you. And I also put myself a little bit on notice of saying, I've had this experience. I don't know if it's program related or not. It feels like it's program related, but I can't confirm that. And my want is if someone was to read that, like, for example, you, Soma, you read that and you're like, oh, that reminds me of this program. Yeah, that's definitely program related. If you were to message me and go, oh, yeah, this, you know, one paragraph, you're talking about this. That's this program. I really feel like you should look into it. And then I'm like, okay, it's program, and I have somewhere to look for it to see if, yeah, that makes sense. That, validates it. And I even had a memory that I shared, and then later I share some of what the SSP is, like Solar Warden, different programs, giving a little synopsis because I feel like everybody throws these terms out there, but nobody really knows what these terms are and what they do. So I was like, here's a website, here's what they are. And in doing that, I was like, oh, Solar Warden. That sounds exactly like this memory that I had that even Arkeem was like, I don't know where that memory comes from. It sounds programmed, but he had no frame of reference for it either. And when I'm reading Solar Warden, it was talking about protecting the planet Earth. That's their main goal. Well, this is an experience where I'm removing ships in space before they get to the Earth. So I was like, maybe this is Solar Warden after all. And, this is proof I've been in Solar Warden. I don't know.
Let's
Yes.
let's as you're talking, so the couple of things. Let's pause there and do a part two just about your SSP programs and memories that you do have, or some of the memories that you have started to have. A friend of mine, Veronica Bartolini, has said to me several times that I'm definitely part of the programs. And I was on her podcast a couple of weeks ago. She goes live Wednesdays at 11 p.m. or 11:30 p.m. Irish time every Wednesday, and she's live. And she was saying to me in one of those that I'm definitely part of the programs, but I mean she's been saying that to me for a while, but for the last couple of years that I've known her. But recently she said that I will start to get memories back this year. Um, and I'm kind of like I'm aware that I'm part of some of the SSP programs, but um I'm kind of holding it back. Like I don't really want to know. I'm doing enough, I'm channeling the Pleiadians, genuinely channeling the Pleiadians and Ashtar, and have been since I was a child, since I was connected to them as a child. But there are some memories there that are very I find very concerning. One is had this dream as a child, and I was between the age of 8 and 11, I think, or 12, where I was in this glass building and everything was glass. And I think I mentioned this to you before, um, but and it was real. Like I know it was real. And recently I saw the building on a film, a movie. And Craig Daniel was in it. I think it was one of the spy movies. Um, but anyway, let's continue this with a part two. I have to go and do something in the kitchen in a minute, but I'm very interested in you and your experiences, and I love how you are you come across as being very calm internally, and that comes across as you take your time to speak. So I'm very much would like to do a part two with you and just do maybe your memories and your SSP program memories, and what, because a lot of people and some people listening to this will not know what SSP stands for. So let's do part two. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Michael. And please, will you mention how can people get hold of you?
So the best way actually to get a hold of me, and I'm now I'm thinking I may not have sent it to you, so I will send it to you, is I have a link tree. And in my link tree has a link to my website, a link to my Facebook, a link for if you want to order books, where you can find my author page on Amazon, and my books are listed there. And you can follow along on that so you'll get alerted when I publish a new book. And let's see, the podcast shows that I do everywhere that I have them, the main locations are all linked on that link tree. So that's really the best way to get a hold of me is you can find me pretty much through there. And I'll be sure to get that to you, Soma. And
Please do. Yeah,
yeah. And so thank you. And I'm looking forward to part two. And anytime you want me back on, I will gladly come on.
that would be great, Michael. How about November?
Uh, we can look at the schedule and
Yeah,
find a
or
day.
even December?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll find a day. I'll be back.
lovely. Well, thank you so much, Michael. And I look forward to um, connecting in with you more. Um,
Yes, thank you for this. I had a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
yeah, me too. Lots of love. And I'll see you soon. Yeah.
Yes.
Bye for now.